What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over what I think is the best loadout in Fortnite Zero build, or at least what I prefer using most in Fortnite Chapter 5 Season 4. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, and comment down below what you like using this season. Before we get into the items, I'm just going to say that I prefer to play in a more standard way with guns and not really utilizing the mythic weapons as much. And I assume if you're watching this video, you probably do as well, because if you wanted to just get on and use the Captain America shield and the Doom Mythic and kind of jetpack up and throw that down, you probably wouldn't be looking for a loadout video, you know? So I'm not going to talk too much about those items. There is a point where I will, but for the most part, I try to play in a more standard, like, gun-on-gun way and not just fly into the sky and throw those items down. So just, know that's what type of video this is going to be. The shotgun I prefer using this season is actually going to be the Sovereign shotgun. I posted a video just about the shotguns this season entirely yesterday on my channel where I went more in depth with it. But for how this season plays out, I prefer the Sovereign shotgun. I think the jetpack is really important, which we'll get to in a moment. And I think the Sovereign shotgun plays best with the jetpack, more so than the other shotguns. And I've found that the jetpack is very important in my fights this season. Just as far as like being a gun goes, I think the Gatekeeper shotgun is still better. But again, with how fights play out this season, I feel the Sovereign shotgun fits me best. So I prefer to use the Sovereign shotgun. I like having no sight on it and just the angled foregrip, so I don't use the mythic one. The aim down sight feature of this shotgun, where you get added accuracy, can increase your damage potential oftentimes. So I do aim in with this shotgun a decent amount, or there's situations where I will aim in, and for that reason I like having the angled foregrip. And I don't like having the sight on it, that way I can get the fastest ADS time possible. And so that's the shotgun I like using this season. As far as ARs go, I think this is mostly just going to come down to preference. As of the time I'm recording this, we have the Striker AR, the fully automatic one, the Striker Burst AR, or the AUG as I'm going to probably call it for the remainder of the video, or the Combat AR. And I think all of these weapons are actually really good. Whichever one is your favorite or whichever one you prefer, I don't think you're really going wrong either way. I think a lot of this will just come down to preference and playstyle and potentially input method, because the Striker Burst AR, for whatever reason, has a very minuscule aim assist at the moment. Not really sure if this is a bug or it's intentional, but from my understanding, this is true for both controller on PC players and players playing on console with controllers. So it's not just a PC problem. From everything I've heard, the aim assist on the Striker Burst rifle is pretty much non-existent. So that definitely makes it less convenient to use if you're a controller player. I've been trying to force myself to use it because I do think it is very good, especially in certain ranges and certain fights. But there definitely is times where I notice that lack of aim assist. So for now, I've been preferring the Striker Burst AR. There might come a time in a few days where like I just end up using the Striker AR or the Combat AR more. I feel like I still have to play around and experiment more with the ARs, but I think they're all really good. And like, if your aim is solid with any of them, you're going to like melt opponents. They're all just really good assault rifles. For heals, this is going to be a similar kind of case with the ARs. I think there's just a lot of good heals in the game, and it's mostly going to depend on what I find and what I find the most of. So the Flowberry Fizz, the Big Pots, and the Chug Splash, I think are all really good. And so if I end up finding one Big Pot and a full Flowberry Fizz, I'm probably going to go with the Fizz. If I find 2 Big Pots or 6 Splashes, I'm probably going to go with the Splashes. A lot of it will just come down to what I have access to at the moment. I think all the heals, or as far as like all the good shield items right now, are really solid. So for me, it's mostly just whichever one I find most of. If everything was max, like let's say I had access to a Fizz, 3 Big Pots, or 6 Splashes, I think I would go with the Big Pots just because like, it's what I like using most. But the Fizz definitely has its benefit with, the fact that you can use it and not use all of it, or, get the movement effect from it. I just feel like it takes so long to use sometimes. That could be placebo. And then obviously Splashes are really good as well, especially in team game modes. Again, this is mostly just going to come down to preference. I think all of the AR choices are really solid, and a lot of the healing options are really solid, so just use whichever one you like best. For mobility, I think the War Machine hover jets are far and away the most important or the best mobility item this season. The amount of things you can do with this to travel around the map is kind of crazy. I've talked about this in several videos, but you can basically do dashes with the hover jets, if you hold your sprint button, double tap the jump button, and then tap your crouch button, like if you just do that quickly, you can just dash around the map and get around very quickly. There's also the added effect of just being able to fly through the air, which can be beneficial in certain fights, especially when dealing with some of the kind of other Marvel items. If somebody's just spamming rockets and you jet around boosting through the sky, I feel like it's much easier to dodge them than if you're just sitting underneath that player. So there's just so many reasons why the War Machine hover jets, I think, are the best mobility item. I very much expect this to get nerfed, though. I don't think this is what Fortnite intended, for people to just be like spam dashing around the map like this. Maybe they did, but I don't think that's the case. So I think it will get nerfed, but for how the game plays out right now, I think the War Machine hover jets are far and away better than shockwaves. And if you have this in a fight and the opponent doesn't, the amount of options you have to be able to like reset that fight, or, you know, rotate around different ways, you just have so much freedom in the fight that the other person isn't going to have. And I think that's a huge advantage, on top of the fact that it's unlimited. Like, there is a cooldown where if you use too much of the energy, you'll have to wait, but it comes back over time. It's not like it's just gone permanently, you know? So I would highly recommend using the War Machine hover jets, and I would highly recommend trying to get decent with this, not only in fights, but also when, like, for mobility. Finding this item can be rough. The Marvel chests have a pretty decent chance of giving it, though. It's not guaranteed, but if you land at an area that has a lot of these Marvel chests, you should get the jetpack. Again, it's Fortnite. You'll get unlucky sometimes, but areas like Grim Gate, Restored Reels, Rebels Roost, Brawlers Battleground, and Grand Glacier have a lot of these Marvel chests that you can loot and hopefully increase your chances of getting the jetpack. But you can also get it just from regular looting as well. It's not exclusive to these chests. It's just that these chests have a pretty decent chance of giving it to you. And so now that has been 4 items. We have one more inventory slot left. So far we have the Sovereign Shotgun, the Striker Burst AR, heals of your choice, and then the jetpack. The last slot, I think, has several options. I mostly use the shield bubbles because I think they're pretty good at countering some of the things that I don't like playing against. The Captain America shield, the War Machine arsenal, and the Doctor Doom mythic. Throwing a shield bubble and then playing off that bubble in the fight can be a better way to play it, I feel like, than just trying to out DPS the person. And I've talked about this already in videos, and I've had people comment that they use a bubble and still lose. It's not like you're just going to throw the bubble and then automatically win. But the way you can kind of jiggle peek in and out of the bubble, especially versus the Captain America shield or the Doctor Doom item, and get some damage and then maybe advance that fight into something where you have the advantage and you're not on the back foot, is nice. And that's my go-to play. If I'm playing against somebody that's using the Captain America shield or trying to spam the War Machine item, I want to throw a bubble and then look for tags from inside of my bubble, maybe bait them into the bubble and fight them that way. But you don't want to be standing out in the open and just getting destroyed by these items. And I feel like the shield bubble is the best cover item counter. Bunkers are more permanent in terms of like being a structure, but it doesn't protect you as well versus these other, some of these mythics, especially if they're above you. So I prefer to carry shield bubbles this season. And you can actually get these from upgraded ammo boxes. It seems like 100% of the time, if you open an upgraded ammo box this season, it'll drop minis and shield bubbles. So I heavily prioritize getting those because I like carrying the bubbles. For this last slot, you could also use one of those other Marvel items if you wanted to. So like the Captain America shield, the War Machine arsenal, the Doctor Doom mythic. They're all very good. And if you just jetpack up and shoot missiles down, or throw the shield down constantly, or shoot the Doctor Doom thing down constantly, you can get a lot of damage on people and just win fights that way. That's not my preferred way to play the game. I don't really find any sort of enjoyment doing that, so I don't. But if you just care about winning and you don't care about anything else, those items are very powerful, and taking advantage of them will probably make winning easier for you. The final item I'll sometimes run in this slot is going to be the Monarch pistol. I think this thing is really underrated. It hits really hard when you aim in. It's like 70 plus damage. Obviously, rarity matters, but when you aim in, it hits hard. And if you aim in and hit a headshot, it's like over 120 damage. So the damage potential on this pistol is really good. The main reason why I don't want to run it is because, like, you know, I feel like I get more value out of shield bubbles in that slot just to counter the other items. But also, a lot of the times where I'm going to be using this pistol, I could have just used my AR and done basically the same thing while using less inventory slots. So the Monarch pistol is a lot of fun. And in a world where we didn't have a lot of these like you know, go up and spam down items like the shield, the arsenal, and the Dr. Doom mythic, I probably would run the Monarch pistol over shield bubbles. But and it is very fun and it's very good, but I feel like I'm going to win more consistently with the shield bubbles. If you're playing team game modes and you have other teammates carrying the bubbles or something, then, you know, the Monarch pistol is really good and it's really satisfying to use. I like this item a lot. It's just like, unfortunately, I feel like I don't have room for it with how this season plays out. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, comment down below what you prefer to run this season, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.